I
Hello.
see you.
Was that a close-up?
That was a close-up. That was my sexy, sexy eye.
Wow. Can you do that again? Can we get a flashback? Oh yeah.
It is sexier than the CBS eye. That's true.
That's like the beginning of half the episodes of Lost right there.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, everybody. We're on the air. We are the Pretentious Movie Snobs. We are talking about movies.
Yep.
We
I
are.
was going to say specifically,
Good
we're going to be
God.
talking about what year was it this movie made? I was going to say
90
97
something.
was it?
97, maybe,
I think
whatever.
it was 97. It was not
Late
99.
90s. Late 90s. Gattaca.
Gattaca, 97, starring Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman.
There you go.
Starring
Well, it's not that bad.
starring Ethan Hawke before he started looking like a homeless meth head.
He still
He
looks
looks
like
like
a
now.
homeless meth head in this movie. I don't
A
know
little
what
bit.
he's like a cross between a good-looking guy and a meth head, and it depends on what angle and what the lighting is doing, and I don't get it.
Okay, good. I thought it was just me. I'm glad to get a female perspective there.
Oh no, I think he always looks homeless and dirty, but cute at the same time. It's very
Yeah, it's like he's got some handsome but doesn't always bring it.
exactly. It might be the teeth though that get that whole meth thing going.
Yeah, okay, we can't talk. We'll talk about the teeth when we talk about the movie and genetic perfection.
Oh, yeah, they
but,
didn't. Okay.
Yeah, so that's going to be our subject for tonight on the Pretentious Movie Snobs, where every week we talk about not necessarily a new movie, but a different movie, generally things that are available in the Netflix Instant Watch, unless Kimmy doesn't actually, look it up and just picks whatever. But,
Which I can do if I want to.
So it's kind of yeah, sure. We won't complain too much. It's kind of the podcast for the person with a job that keeps them out of the theaters, a couple of kids who hates leaving the house and is trying to get that perfect fish belly white tone to his skin.
You're just randomly.
Yeah, no, I can't. What's up?
Oh. Why don't you
You're about
introduce
to need
us?
some kibble
Why
there.
don't you introduce
I
us?
am going to introduce us. This is the first time. This is usually the Smith thing, and by Smith I mean David W. Smith, microscopically successful screenwriter, novelist, sometimes blogger, occasional blogger. You blog anymore? No more blogger.
Sometimes.
Newly prolific tweeter.
Yeah, I would say.
David W. Smith. And then in the other corner we have Kimberly Blagrove, the Nappy Wanderer.
Mm-hmm.
And this
That's
man.
it.
Yeah, that's it. No, I'm sure you've got other things, but I don't remember what Dave says.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's something to do with an Oreo cookie, or I don't
Keep on
know.
moving. It's all good.
Wrap it up. She just wants us to wrap it up.
Okay, and I am Kent Conrad, editor of ExplodedGoat.com, contributor to Cinema Sentries, erstwhile novelist, much less successful. God damn, this sucks. Less successful screenwriter than Dave. I got one thing optioned, and with the director, we decided we won't take any money up front. We'll get it when the movie gets made. Oh. Yeah, that's who we are. We're the Pretentious Movie Snobs.
That's the best way to get an option, by the way. It's the most frequent way to get an
Yeah, to get money. Yeah,
money.
go. Yeah.
I've gotten like 5 of those, by the way.
Is that how you worked with Tim Powers when you optioned his book?
I paid the man.
What'd you give him?
I gave him some money. I don't remember, but it was it
Awesome.
was like $1,000 or $2 to option it for like a year.
And that is one of the finest books of fantasy of the latter part of the 20th century, the Anubis Gates.
Mm-hmm. It is. I was gonna try to. Yeah. I that was a bad move on my part. I didn't know what I was doing really. So
But you know what? It was a move. A lot of folks don't do nothing, like me. I buy equipment and write stuff, and then just let it all flounder. Hey, we're talking about other people's movies, though, not just our own failed, arrested, sad ambitions. So, on the Pretentious Movie Snobs, every week we sometimes go through some movie news, even though there wasn't anything this week, right?
Well, no, Casey Kasem. I know he's not a movie person, but
we talk about dead people a lot too. And that sounds so callous. Dead this week is Casey Kasem.
Well, maybe I just thought of this just now, so I haven't had a chance to work on my Casey Kasem impersonation, but I'm thinking he's probably saying something like, "My body's in the ground, but I keep reaching for the stars." There you
That
go.
does sound like the sort of thing Casey Kasem would have said.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
Best known, of
good.
course, to people of my generation as Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, that's what he was known for.
But no, he was the voice of the Top 40 for the longest time. I think if you get like Sirius or XM, you can probably still hear his ghostly intonations somewhere out there in the satellite ether.
He did
Yeah,
have
he's
one of
dead.
those. He did have one of those golden throats, though. His voice was really fantastic. He was one of those. You know, if you can name 20 people for their voices, he's definitely one of them. You know, Gary Owens and him, and Paul Frees. Getting a little older there, but
just to be kind of a jerk, I would put Gary Owens above him. But yeah.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Ken.
Gary Owens is Dave's favorite, if I recall. Is that right?
I don't know.
No,
I like Paul Frees, actually. Not the Paul Frees that we know that we used to work with, but different Paul Frees.
He was great. I've seen he directed one movie. Am I thinking of the right guy? I think Paul Frees directed one movie called The Beatniks, which didn't actually have any beatniks in it. It was about a guy who he's part of a gang, and then he had a really good singing voice. There's a great scene where he and his gang kind of rough up an agent, but then the agent sees him singing and just says, "I'm going to sign you up." But his gang doesn't want him to get successful.
Wow.
So that's Paul Frees, who died this week.
No.
Or Casey Kasem, who made us think of Paul Frees, who actually died in 1986. Voice of the Haunted Mansion. And Gary Owens, So pretentious movie snobs, come for the dead celebrities, stay for the Gary Owens prejudice.
Well said.
I saw a T-shirt. Some dude had a T-shirt with that on it just yesterday when I was over at the Ren Fair.
No.
No, the Ren Fair is not
going
even
to go viral. There's no such
you're
thing.
not in Ren Fair.
Yeah.
I would like to say a shout out because I didn't realize people were actually watching these podcasts now, these video podcasts. But our friend Peter.
Peter, oh, thank you, Peter.
Hey, Peter.
Peter is actually watching us, so let's wave to him. Hi, Peter. I don't know what he can see and what he can't see, but we hope you're watching us now.
I wonder if Derek and/or Sable is also watching this, and maybe we'll find out this weekend because they'll both be at the. No, Derek won't be at the party. But sorry, Derek. It's his birthday. He's staying home celebrating his birthday. But Sable will be here at the party.
Okay.
So he's a listener.
Well, we'll see. So, should we move on to the movie then?
We podcast our personal plans. Yeah. Hey,
before we go though, I wanted to hear Kimberly's story. I wanted to hear Kimberly's story about getting hugged by Jesse Jackson.
Oh, that's
Was
right.
it a hug or a hug?
Oh God. Well, first let's talk about what brought up the comment. Kent told the story.
No, I can't. We can't tell the story on that thing. It's.
No, not that
NDA.
story. I'm just saying you
okay.
used the term black instead of African American, and I thank you for that because I am not African American. No. I'm Canadian Jamaican, so I appreciated that.
I'll tell you. I'm going to break in here.
That's all I'm saying.
I make a point about doing it because when I was in like a 10th grade history class and some girl was giving a report and she talked about slavers going to Africa and taking all the African Americans from there. And that right there, my young fertile mind thought, oh, this is just so freaking absurd. I can never say it. I can't do it. I can't buy into it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, there you go. Well, that's why I just brought that portion. So, yes, so that brought us to, what's his name? Jesse Jackson. All right, so anyway, the Reverend Jesse Jackson was out with a friend for their birthday. We went to a very nice restaurant. We went out to Spago in Beverly Hills, and we saw these people. Like, we were just, my friend and I were just finishing our dinner, and we see, like, a couple of people standing around a table. And I don't know what the big commotion is all about, but we've finished our dinner. It's a girlfriend and I. And as we're walking, we have to pass this table. And we're still a good distance away. And, you know, the path clears a little bit or enough for me to see who was there standing up, and it's the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Now, as I'm walking towards the table, Jesse's standing there, and all of a sudden opens his arm, parts it like the what is this, the Red Sea? And he just opens up his arms, and I'm right in front of him. So what do when Jesse Jackson opens his arms to you and you're walking in his direction? A, do you go over to the side, or do you open your arms as well?
You dive in.
Enter the embrace?
I would go for the hug too.
Yeah.
I went for the hug.
Did he call you sister?
No, this was the weird thing. I don't know if he knew me or didn't know me, or just because I'm a female. So I walk into his arms. He gives me this big hug. He's like, "This is my son. This is my cousin. This is so and so, and this is so and so." I was like, "Hi."
You got intro to everybody.
The door, huh?
But he didn't say, "I can tell that you've had the paella." Did he say that? Mrs. Kimberly, I can tell you've had the paella. Or did he say, hug me closer, I do not believe I can give you herpes through my slacks.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has herpes. I don't know if he has herpes. I'm just saying.
He does not.
Yeah, I got nothing to say. Dave already went too far. I
can't. Kimberly, this is not a roll of quarters in my pocket.
It might be. At his age, it might just be a roll of quarters. but that was it. I think he was very gracious. It was very nice to meet his son, whichever son it was. I don't think it's the one that's causing problems now.
I mean, the one in jail.
He didn't have a ball and chain on his foot, like under the chain underneath the table.
This was way before all of that. So yeah, that's my.
Okay, well, interesting story.
Well, to bring it back into movies, as I desperately looked through IMDb to see if he was in any movies, and I'm not seeing any. This isn't working. This didn't work. He did do a voice on a TV series called Happily Ever After Fairy Tales for Every Child, wherein he played Cocky Locky in the Henny Penny story. So there we go.
Huh.
Okay.
Jesse Jackson, best known for his performance as Cocky Locky.
Wow.
Okay, so what movies did anyone watch? So we need to move on to our next section of this podcast because...
Yes, we do. We're making it lean and mean.
That's right. Yeah, that's why this first 4 hours that you've been listening to has been so tight. So every week we talk about the movies we watch. So we're going to throw it to Kimberly Blagrove. What'd you watch? Did you see anything? Because I'm a jackass.
You are, but you're adorable still. I watched nothing, so there you go. We've saved 5 minutes.
That's good. I don't remember what I watched, so why don't you do some song and dance, Kent, while I try to remember.
Well, I watched a couple of movies this week. In preparation for seeing X-Men Days of Future Past, which I still have not seen, I watched The Wolverine, which kind of ties into it in only a tangential sense, and it was fairly middling. I was hoping that it would be more like X-Men First Class. It tells Wolverine, of course, is the Wolverine from the X-Men movies, played by Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman's really ripped in this movie. It's like he did a lot of work to get extra buff. Even though it's kind of sad that a superhero best known for being very short and Canadian is played by a 6-foot Australian. But anyhow. With that? Yeah, and it's kind of a fun movie. It all takes place in Japan, so it's got cute Japanese ladies running around. Though it doesn't really follow too closely. There's a famous sort of mid-'80s Wolverine in Japan story that was written by Chris Claremont, drawn by Frank Miller, but it doesn't really go into too much of that. It kind of goes between being kind of an interesting kind of samurai movie and then complete comic book schlock. Yeah, which is a bit sad because it had some pretty good performances, though it did have one thing that's been missing in a lot of recent superhero movies, and that's the hero gets to bang a hot chick midway through. We don't see a lot of in these movies. He actually gets the meeting with the goddess, in its most literal form, because he sleeps with the cute Japanese lady.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wolverine doesn't get laid much, does he?
Nobody in any movie.
Arms or his claws?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. He
Look in the way.
tends to have nightmares and shoot his claws out and hit people hit poor ladies in the stomach when he's. But I cannot. I'm trying to think of any superhero movies the last decade because they've all been kind of PG-13 sanitized, and it was kind of a staple for action movies from the mid '70s on. That about midway through, the action hero is going to get a girl.
Mm-hmm.
Superman 2. Superman 2, where they had, well, they were together, I guess, briefly, and then he took away her memory. But I remember, was it like in the ice room or something? He got lucky with Lois, if I recall.
Is that the one where he gets rid of his powers for a while, or is that Superman 3?
Yes, I love that one. That's my favorite
That's
one.
every superhero movie ever, or every superhero sequel ever. Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man, I don't know if he ditches his powers, he quits using them. In The Wolverine, and this is another problem with The Wolverine from a structural standpoint, is there's like, there's this notion from Blake Snyder, Save
the Cat?
Save the Cat, thank you, who said that in some movies there's a magic potion, and where you have, it's used metaphorically, but if you have this one sort of set of magic, that's okay for an audience. But if you have like a different sort of thing, if you have like, okay, this guy's a mutant, but this guy's a magician, and they're in the same movie, that's probably like a step too far. It's like, okay, I'm buying this stuff, but that's crap. And you kind of, because you can only suspend your disbelief so far. In Wolverine, there's like 3 or 4 different things. It's like he's kind of losing his powers, but maybe not. And you think it might be because of some weird serpent lady called Viper who gives people sick. But then it's really these mechanical sort of robot things that get into his heart, and it gets way too plotty. It should have been much more streamlined.
Double or triple mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, it gets too much. There is one really. This is directed by James Mangold, who's a fine director. Directed Walk the Line, the Johnny Cash movie, 3:10 to Yuma with Christian Bale and Russell Crowe. I think he's a fine director. There's one really good action scene set on a bullet train where Wolverine and another guy are clinging to the top of the bullet train, and they spend most of their time just trying to dodge things that are flying at them instead of fighting each other. Mm-hmm. It works out. It's a good scene. It's most action scenes are really rote, I find, these days, and things, and So it was, but it's not. It's like a C+, B- movie. I wouldn't tell him to see it. And I saw that, and this morning I watched for the several time How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh, because the second one's coming out.
Yeah, because the second one's out, and I haven't seen it yet. But I had a niece over, and I can only show her movies she's already seen because her dad has to watch movies before she sees them, and she'd already seen How to Train Your Dragon, and it was not an ideal situation to watch it because she thinks that the best way to watch a movie is to tell you what's about to happen every 5 seconds. Which I've already seen the movie. It's no surprise. And then he's going to look like he's going to kill the dragon, but he's not really going to kill the dragon. You got to throw away your sword, and I'm making it sound way more adorable than it felt at the time.
Wow, you loved it.
Oh, Kirsten's a fine young lady. Hi, Kirsten. She's never going to see this. We use swears.
No.
Dave.
She might when she's 26, because these are going to be sitting there forever.
YouTube's going to be here forever. Yeah, unless we use like the same sort of backups the IRS does.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Topical!
I can't believe that. That's so odd that those emails disappeared, like from their computers and from their servers. That's just a wild.
I've actually read from some IT people about the way it could have happened, but it would require monumental IT incompetence.
Yeah, they would say you'd have to get a group.
It could probably happen.
You'd have to get a group of monkeys together and start them typing for 1 billion years. And they could possibly lose all of those emails from those 6 or 7 people, right?
I think we're just covering up that Dave can't remember any movies he's seen.
Yeah. Oh, I hadn't even thought. I was so mesmerized by your
oh man,
you did that whole song and dance for you.
I really don't.
That's the problem with my broadcasting is I am too good.
I did watch one, and I do remember.
Cool. What did you see?
I believe it was shot in Toronto as well.
Oh, like no.
I've never been, but Kimberly is quite familiar. I think it's a Sarah Polley film. It was called Take This Waltz.
Oh, I've heard of it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Pretty well known for having a full frontal shot of Sarah Silverman. Not that exciting. But it's about a young woman.
If it were shot 15 years ago, man, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
true.
poor Sarah Silverman.
Maybe someone can IMDb it, but it stars
Michelle Williams.
Michelle Williams. I was going to say Mary Williams for some reason. And Sarah Silverman's in it. Seth Rogen. It's about a woman who she meets. She's married to Seth Rogen.
How's an affair? Right?
I don't want to get too close into it, but she does have a strange attraction to this guy she meets while on a trip.
Yeah.
And it was very well done, actually. Very mature filmmaking, very interesting storytelling. It was it wasn't really twisty so much as just everything was presented in an interesting way. And I was really it was nice to see it. Seth Rogen's very funny in it, and it didn't take the Seth Rogen's not a jerk. So it was a good. And I was really guessing the whole time: is she gonna go for this guy? What's she gonna do? I was really I don't know what I would do in this situation, because Seth Rogen's a sweet guy and they seem good together. But this other guy seems kind of interesting too, and maybe he understands her more. It was more from a female perspective, so I thought that was pretty interesting. I liked the way it played out, and I thought it was pretty well done. So.
I feel like I've watched it, but I forget all that had happened with it, or I saw a lot of scenes. But it had a very interesting premise.
Yeah. I was practicing Seth Rogen's laugh too, but I should have practiced it more today. But it sounds something kind of like a something like that, like he's coughing up something. Yeah, does that sound right?
I don't know, man.
Right.
I don't know.
And he's Canadian too.
Oh, okay.
There's something.
Fun fact.
There's a thing about Sarah Polley that just bugs the hell out of me, and that's that
she's done.
She's successful and she's like 10 months older than I am. Yeah. No, she was in one of her first gigs, or not her first, but an early gig. She was the little girl in Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
Oh yeah, okay.
And so she was an actress for. By the way, it's been since I was a kid that people say that saying actor and actress is somehow sexist. Go screw yourself. It's fine. She's been an actress for a very long time. She was in the Dawn of the Dead remake. Which is a fine remake, actually. That's what's his name? Zack Snyder. I'm always surprised that I like his movies because I'm always ready to not. But I've liked something about everything he's done, even Man of Steel, which you two were not so fond of.
We were just I was just gonna bring that up, but thank you.
But take this waltz. It's got lots of good stuff in it. It's got too much stuff in it. It's too long. But anyhow, so take this waltz. That's one of them. They're artsy movies.
Yeah, it's one of them. They're artsy movies. I recommend it. It's pretty good.
Is there even like one fist fight in the whole thing?
I don't think there's any fist fights.
No.
No, there's some fisting.
Yeah.
I want to fast forward from like 46 minutes through 48 minutes because it's a long scene. But it's okay. No, there's no fisting in that. I just kidding.
No.
There ain't any like fights between a superpowered mutant and Yakuza on top of a bullet train?
No. Seth Rogen gets thrown through an office building at one point, though. He crashes all the way through. So that's
he's pretty dense. You think that might happen?
At the end, he's like, "I'm getting better. That was better."
Oh my God. Okay, we have like 10 minutes left to discuss this movie. Do we?
Yeah, we got 5. Yeah, we do. Yeah.
All right. So this week's movie, we're talking about Andrew Nichols' directorial debut.
And he wrote it.
Yeah, he wrote and directed it. Andrew Nichols started out as a screenwriter, and I think he wanted to be a director. Initially, he came to Hollywood with the Truman Show script. And Gattaca was made while that was being tossed around. Anyway, so Gattaca.
Poor guy.
I know. You feel sorry for that son of a. Gattaca is a science
British
fiction.
or Australian?
He is Australian, I believe.
Don't they automatically come to LA with like a deal of some sort? Isn't that usually the case?
I think it may not even. Oh, he's new from New Zealand. It's a little harder there. Yeah.
Oh.
But Australians, I think just their general good nature makes people just hire them if they come near them.
Yeah, it's like I know it took you 15 years to write the script and you were going to direct it, but we're going to take away all your money and give it to this other guy to do. And he's like, no worries. Can I go get a Foster's Lager? And then they go, you know what? That guy was so nice. Let's just give him the job back. And that's how.
Yeah.
That's a true story.
Every time I used to work retail at Fry's, and the 2 times I worked with Australians, they were just the
Nice
extremely
people.
pretty blonde people, so
They're
nice.
pretty.
Oh
Australians are
man,
pretty.
Yeah,
I gotta go to Australia.
I used to take phone calls from around the world when I worked at Ken Crane's Laserdisc, and
Wow.
every
What's a
time an
laser
Australian,
disc?
it's a giant oversized CD from the '80s that
Wow.
played movies, and you had to flip them over halfway through because they only hold 60 minutes per side, or 30, depending on the type of recording it was. But yeah, anytime I would talk to an Australian or a New Zealander, it was like, you knew it was going to be a nice conversation because they're always super nice. And even if you're like, yeah, the plane that was carrying your entire library of discs just has crashed, like, oh no, God, oh my God, that's horrible. No, I will send them out to you in another 6 weeks. All right, no worries, mate. Yeah. They're never flustered at all. It was great.
Which brings us back to Gattaca. Directed and written by a paranoid New Zealander. Terrified people might think he's Australian. Yeah, this is a movie about the not too distant future where most children are genetically engineered to be as perfect as science can make them. And so it's a story about one kid who was not genetically engineered, who was a godchild, or they had some other names for them. They're not very nice. Invalid is the chosen slur, and how he worms his way into society by pretending to be another man.
Yeah.
And
his name is Freeman.
Yeah, and there's lots of intrigue. And so this was Kimmy's choice of movie. That was a really short synopsis. It wasn't even very good. Yeah,
It's
but
okay.
we'll get into what it's about. So Kimmy,
by the way, do they say why it's called Gattaca? When you're watching the opening credits, they keep, GATC keeps highlighting,
They
Did
don't
say that in the movie?
specifically in the movie. No, they have. Though it's the name of the space agency, and of course GATC. Those are the genetic. What are they? Proteins.
The proteins that are in that make up DNA. Yeah, guanine, adenine, cytosine, and thymine.
Wow. You're good.
Yeah, I even knew that when I first saw the movie. I was like, oh, cool. I must have had a class at college or something.
What sort of voodoo nonsense are you talking about, Dave?
So that's why it's called Gattaca.
And what the hell are you talking about, college?
I did have a couple of classes.
Kimmy, what did you think of Gattaca? Or you picked Gattaca. Tell us why you did so, what you thought about it, and how you liked it watching it this time.
Okay. Well, I had not watched it for a very, very long time, and I was always curious to watch it again. I am a big fan, as you know, of Andrew. I'm calling him Andrew now, because I loved The Truman Show. And I thought, okay, let's give it a shot. And I know he did In Time as well. It seems to have he seems to have a similar theme, the not so distant future, the interesting stories about the protagonists that are on particular missions. There's,
deep, terrified paranoia.
There wasn't terrified. Well, there's paranoia. I don't know if it's terrified paranoia.
These stories come from a mind that thinks somebody's watching his every move and is out to get him.
But maybe that's not so paranoid, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I think there might be reason for it. So, I don't know. I actually thought it was fantastic. I think it was beautifully directed. I love the message that we're not supposed to let things hold us back. It's strange. This movie was prior to me moving here, where maybe I did not have as many struggles as I did upon moving here, and it resonated so strongly with me that this guy, all he wants is just to be a part of this program, and he's not, considered, adequate, and all of the work and the prep work that he had to go through just to be a normal person or considered a superior being, a part of this group, was amazing, which then you see the end result where his brother, who was this, this fine specimen, has all the advantages based on his, his report or his reading or whatever, and he's obviously not applied it. And so when they have that little swim, and he's like, "How are you doing it?" And you see what one can do with determination. So I find it very inspiring, and I love when he says, "I didn't save anything for the trip back," which just means he gives his all to follow his dream, and I thought it was fantastic. And little bit of trivia, Maya Rudolph is in the beginning of this movie. It's probably one of her first roles as a nurse.
Must be, yeah.
It really looks young. I think Uma Thurman does a great job. I think Ethan Hawke. I love Jude Law in this movie. I think this is probably one of his earlier roles as well.
He was my man crush all through that time period too. Jude Law.
Really?
Yeah.
It's such a shame. Like, he's done so many good movies, and his career really didn't end up where I thought it would end up. I don't know if anybody else, like, he had like a peak, and now he has some interesting roles. His roles are definitely have changed over the years.
Here's an irritating side thing from me is on the TV show How I Met Your Mother. At one point, when a bunch of friends were trying to have kind of like a joke competition, and one woman said, "It's like, yeah, had made some sort of joke about Jude Law being in everything," and everyone looked at her kind of weird because that was like 5 years before then. Yeah, it's kind of like, not anymore.
Are you thinking of Tom Sizemore?
Yeah. Not Tom.
I remember when that was
Jude Law was in everything. And then I think being an Alfie kind of just made it all go downhill.
Oh, Alfie was a bad choice. Yeah. But no, I think Andrew does he paints such a beautiful picture. I love the scenes. I love how meticulous he is. You know what? I think it's a great movie, and I think it's very inspiring. I think it's beautifully shot. I think the writing was great. Had a great message, and I would watch it again. It's now one of my favorites.
Okay.
Right on.
Mr. Smith, what do you have to say?
I pretty much agree with Kimmy on all the points she made too. It can be an inspirational movie. It's also a sort of a cautionary tale to parents about maybe not overpraising your children. Because maybe in this movie you pull a piece of hair out and they run your thing and you're awesome. You don't have to do anything. You're automatically put into the elite category because you've been engineered to do something, but you don't have to actually do anything. And we got a character in the movie who really has to bust his ass to do those. He actually does those things, and he's better than those people. And look what it did to Jude Law's character. I mean, he was suicidal. That's how he got screwed up. He didn't live up to his own potential, his imagined potential in his mind. I do think it was technically really it's very. It was really well put together and clever. I mean, like you're saying, the things he had to go through to just get in the front door of the company he was trying to pretend to work for. But he's pretending to be Jude Law because Jude Law can't walk anymore, and no one knows this. And, so what they call a borrowed ladder, which references DNA strand. It looks like a spiral staircase. So they call it a borrowed ladder, which is kind of cool. A lot of good little good slang in there, and the futuristic stuff's pretty well done. The ending that I liked the entire movie, but at the end, I'm kind of like I don't want to jump out of my chair and go yeah for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. I think I have a handle. I want to run it past you guys.
Okay.
I would love to talk about the ending. I was just thinking about it as you were talking about it, but you go ahead, Casey. Go ahead.
Well, I'm not as pleased with it as both of you. Though there's a lot of things I like about it. And I'm gonna keep going on the positive right now. And first, the thing that you noted about the what was it? Something. This is great radio right now. About the sort of the cleverness, like that the borrowed ladder. That it's the thing. And there's a lot of that sort of cleverness throughout the whole movie. And I sound dismissive calling it cleverness, but it's like the cops are called Hoovers, which is a reference to J. Edgar Hoover and the fact that most of their job is vacuuming things up and seeing if one of the invalids somehow got into their proper place.
Right.
That's cool. Jerome Eugene Morrow, his middle name's Eugene, which is Greek. It means well born.
Ooh.
And of course, it is the root for the word eugenics, eugenics, which is what this movie is essentially about. Eugenics was a sort of a philosophy of the early 20th century progressive Marxists, where the notion was that which was also taken over by the Nazis and all sorts of socialist fascist groups, that we were going to be able to breed ourselves a better world. And that's one of the main things that was a kind of a influence on the originator of Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger. We thought it's going to be really great. We're going to abort the hell out of these lower classes, and we're going to have ourselves a better race coming soon. Yeah. So it's about that sort of thing, about how you can't even if somebody has potential, you don't know what they can do. This, I mean, I've seen it throughout my entire life. People who were naturally really good at things, who could just pick up a guitar and after a few lessons be terrific, don't necessarily put in the work then.
Exactly.
I mean, hell, I got good grades with very little work, and I never learned to really study until I was in my 20s, and learn things because I could kind of toss it off and spend my time doing other stuff. And that I think that center of the movie, the notion that just because somebody might be good at something doesn't mean they won't, and just because somebody might not look like they're good at something doesn't mean they can't bust their ass and get there. Though I'm glad they didn't do what would be the obvious converse sort of thing, which is that everyone who was just kind of pushed in there was really incompetent, because those people who were genetically superior were good at what they were doing. There was no hint, that they weren't really good. And that maybe because even though you can get up to your potential if you work really hard, there's still limits to everybody, and certain people have different limits. Some people are just naturally inborn with different sort of levels at which they can achieve. So that I like that the movie had that sort of complex notion that somebody who works really hard can achieve something, but that doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot. But I had story problems with this movie. I thought that the entire relationship between the detectives was garbage. Alan Arkin and I thought they were completely inconsistent. It was just, in one scene, Alan Arkin seems like, we're going to beat up all the invalids. And the next scene, he's like, we're going to take a look at all these supposed elites. I don't think there was a really good line for that character. There was no real sort of philosophy that he kind of embodied. It was from scene to scene, seemed kind of different.
I think it was just to drive the story or the plot line, really, more than anything.
Yeah, but it could have been better.
Was he he seemed like he was the guy that was going more in experience, and the younger guy was trying to be, because we find out at the end he's the superior breeding guy. We don't know anything about Alan Arkin, but was he I don't know if he was consistently like that. Maybe you're saying inconsistently.
I thought that was a great big mess. That was a first draft thing. It was like, this is an idea that I'm going to go somewhere with when I think about it more. But no, I'm making.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. I wasn't. But you could be perfectly correct on that one there. Can't have to watch that again. But yeah, some of those scenes did seem a little all over. I like Alan Arkin though, so I didn't care so much. So.
Oh yeah, I love Alan Arkin.
He's a strange person in every movie, but I really like him anyway. His intonation's the same. His mannerisms. It's all the same.
Yeah.
I was going to say though, with the ending, actually. I thought it just made perfect sense. After he has gone through this ordeal, it sounds like you thought it was kind of anticlimactic, but I actually thought it made perfect sense. After you have worked so hard to kind of push yourself, I just feel like he had a sense of peace and calm, and you see him just there by himself, and he feels like finally he's at rest now because he's finally achieved his dream. So. I think it made perfect sense. He's accomplished what he needed to accomplish. He doesn't need to do anything.
It did make sense that the pieces fit together, and I like the way it played out too, because he got caught, but he kind of built up a rapport with the guy who caught him, and they had there was an interesting connection there, so you let him go. But the thing for me,
actually, I'm going to break into that. Was one of my favorite storylines through the whole thing. It's just 3 or 4 scenes with the Xander Berkeley character, but it was very subtly done in the way where the guy is basically it's kind of like how a scene that was dropped from the Catching Fire book into the movie, where the Philip Seymour Hoffman character in the book flashes a sign. Everyone's seen Gattaca if you're listening to this, so this is no spoilers. Flashes a sign that, hey, I'm part of this resistance. But in the book, Katniss is too stupid to understand what it means, even though it's the most obvious thing in the world. In this, it's much subtler, but the guy is basically, every time he meets him, he's kind of signaling to him, you can open up to me, and he never does until the very end. And it's really well done.
But he doesn't even open up to him. It's the man that initiates it.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I liked about it too, is that it was like a sign of decency. Mm-hmm. And in a lot of this sort of science fiction movies, there's never a decent human being. Mm-hmm. Everyone's always nasty up for what they get, and I like that this guy was. He had his own way of thinking, and there wasn't sort of a lockstep thing. Dave, I interrupted you when you were making a great point. I bet you forgot all about it.
No, right? I didn't. But the tangential thing came in, and I forgot to make a note of it. But he says something to him. It was the thing that made him. He says to him, a right-handed guy doesn't hold his dong with his left hand while he's peeing. Is that true?
Yeah.
No, it's not true. Not for me. You know why?
You're ambidextrous.
You got to unzip stuff. You use your dominant hand to do that work. So I'm like, her, you got it ready, and then the other hand's just okay. Well, what am I gonna do with the left hand? Might as well just hold my dork.
It's more of a line than a truth. I'm trying to think. Yeah. And your offhand is kind of a stranger. Yeah, it feels a little better. Yeah, it's a little different. You're not so familiar with it. It's like, there's something of the unknown, and that's one of those intimate times of the day when you're urinating, or what are we talking about here? I'm totally off. So that would
I'm gonna change the
topic. Me on that one, but no, the ending is. I think I know why. For me, it doesn't quite hit a home run. Is because the movie is about you get this new America that's set up this caste system now through technology, and we got this character who's not he's of the lower caste, basically he's the bottom, and he's gonna rise to what's his goal? To take a ride on a spaceship.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
But you know what I mean? It's as if the movie Gladiator, if his goal was to just I want a gold sword.
Yeah, but
okay, here's your gold sword. You did it. Yay! You didn't topple the system. He didn't show everybody.
Yeah, I want to jump in here and say that's kind of one of my problems with this as a science fiction story, and this is what I talk about it being kind of a first drafty thing. Is his job is BS. And his goal. It's like so these guys are astrogating, but for what? And it just seems a little like I guess they're doing navigation in space, kinda. But I don't know. I'll think of something better next time.
No, you're right. I think the movie is.
I would have liked something a lot more specific.
Yeah,
for that as a science fiction fan, that's it. Oh, yeah. I don't want too much because that gets nerdy. Okay. Yeah. For chicks, it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is that it's real. I'm starting to like this movie more than I'm talking about it. I like that I think it's pretty has all the aspects of a classical story. It has the family dynamic. It has a romance dynamic with him and Uma Thurman. So I'm kind of annoyed, just as a dude, that we got plenty of man-ass in this movie, and yet none of Uma Thurman's ever showing up.
Oh, whatever.
And she is a fantastically built female.
She doesn't have to show everything. She showed her acting ability.
Yeah, she did it in Dangerous Liaisons. That was like 8 years before this. Come on, what you getting uppity now?
So what? She's supposed to show it all the time. Once you do it once, you can't.
Yes, until she hits. Never mind. But but again, that's just that is just the man horn dog point, not the character point, where I liked that it hit all those elements. It didn't leave anything, and this is another point directly in its favor as a science fiction film. Even a science fiction film, after CG started to be made and we do wild action scenes, there's exactly one fight in this movie, and it's just one guy hitting another a couple times. Yeah, this is a movie with characters doing stuff, not people shooting each other or hitting each other. And when you can't find any of that anymore in the cinema nowadays, which is that's the laziest sort of critique. They don't make pictures like this no more. But still, I really appreciate that it did not ever kind of devolve into some guy running down a hall with someone else shooting at him and we gotta get chased by fireballs or any of that nonsense.
I like how he created tension in a few of the scenes, and there are two specific scenes that I thought were so well done. One where Uma Thurman wants him to cross the freeway, to go see the lights, and he can't see a thing. The tension that is created, and if he's going to run across or not, and it's so dangerous, was amazingly done. It was done amazingly well.
Works really well on a physical gut level. It's, oh God, this is horrifying. I've crossed a freeway before on foot. It's terrified. It was the stupidest thing I ever did, but I thought somebody might be hurt. So I'm a hero. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was well done. And then
the aftermath of that scene.
What's that?
But the aftermath of that scene when he did cross, and then he gets, it's like, it's like a metaphor for his whole. It's like he's so close, but he's still not really there. Because he gets to this place, he's with the pretty girl, he's watching the sunrise, but he can't see it.
He can't.
Oh man, I like this movie. What the hell?
Thank you. And again, he has to pretend. He just wants to. I mean, I think that's one of the key things where you have to pretend that you're able when he is able. That is the crazy thing of it all, is that he is able to do what these special people can do and more. And just because he hasn't been given the opportunity, he has to work 3 times as hard. But the other scene, which was fantastic, was I love, there are a couple, but Jude Law, where Ethan Hawke tells him he has to pretend to be him, and then Jude Law has to pull himself up that flight of stairs and prop himself on the chair as if he's been up there, as if nothing has happened, and he's like breaking a sweat. I thought that was so well done. I didn't know if he was going to make it up on time.
And I think that scene holds the key to why Dave, and I think I had some problems with the ending, and maybe Dave, maybe I'll disagree with this, is that it would have been great had Jude Law, spoilers, you've already seen it, had Jude Law not killed himself at the end. Had he decided to go make himself as a new man.
Yeah.
I think that would have been like a triumph instead of.
I mean, he sets that up that way. He said he lies. Yeah. He says that he's borrowed his dream or whatever. It's like, and then he just goes and kills himself.
And but it would have been
so sad.
It was sad, and I think it was cheap sad. It would have been better. It would have been, your heart would have been in your throat if he just started wheeling himself out. And it's like, oh my God, he's gonna go do something.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I believe that's that whole
first draft screenplay.
Oh yes, but I think it's just like that cautionary tale.
And now
that
another episode.
About when you put expectations. What did you say?
Yeah.
What
I know, but
Willis?
no, it was Dave and I were doing the first draft screenplay thing. It's like a conceptual thing. He and I made up on the spot. It's amazing. But anyhow, I think there is. Well, I'm going to be sleeping over this Saturday.
It's kind of like one of those things. Sorry, Kimmy, we're now stepping on your point there, but it's true. It is a first draft screenplay. It's probably one of the first things that Andrew Niccol thought of when he wrote the movie, so he didn't want to kill it, but it kind of doesn't fit in the movie anymore. That he probably should have.
I agree.
I bet that was one of his images. Oh, I'm going to see him. He's as the other guy's taken off. He's incinerating himself. Maybe not. He set it up and then he screwed it up.
Because he said the movie has the sort of feeling that it's going to be a tragedy, that this guy is something horrible is going to happen to him despite it, and then it subverts it near the end, and it should have subverted it all the way.
I hear you. I don't disagree. I don't want to say I agree with you guys. I don't disagree, but still with that type of ending, and it doesn't really leave you with that feel good that feeling in your heart, whatever. But I do feel that even with the ending that he does have, I still like it. It still doesn't detract from the beauty of the film.
It's a quality movie. It's despite my fierce denunciation earlier, because I don't think that the detective stuff works nearly as well as it could.
I agree.
But
to still like a movie with all of those flaws, something was done well.
Oh yeah.
I like this movie.
Yeah, me too.
Wow, you really did change. You're a flip-flopper.
Well, I didn't hate it when I was going in. I was...
we worked it out. This is part. It's a workshop here. We like work through things here. So
one thing I'm very happy about is that it is
cinema therapy.
It's an hour and 45 minutes and not 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Nice. It's a decent film. I like it, and I think we've given our audience the money's worth here, because I think unless anyone's got upset, I think
so. Yes.
The weight has been put upon it.
Indeed.
Okay.
Yes.
So all right, and so next week, I'm announcing this just fresh to these people. They don't know.
I'm excited.
Decided we're going to be watching another science fiction film about the not too distant future.
See if I can guess. Give me some hints.
Okay, it is. It's got nobody you've ever heard of in it.
Of course.
It came out a couple years ago.
Conrad pick.
The director's last name is Cronenberg.
Oh, okay. I don't know the movie though.
Who's Canadian as well?
Yeah.
Yes, Brandon Cronenberg.
Oh, okay.
Directed Antiviral. David Cronenberg's son.
Okay.
It's a movie that I'm just looking at the IMDb page right now. I haven't seen it myself, so we're all going to be approaching this. And I know that what it is about is a guy who works at getting diseases from celebrities.
Oh, so like
the celebrities
I want George Clooney.
That's right. Yeah. Antiviral. I don't know if it's any good at all. By the way, David Cronenberg has kind of returned to sort of the dark horror scene for his latest movie called Star Maps, which is about Hollywood. It premiered at Cannes, I think. Did it premiere at Cannes? It premiered recently, and has gotten some pretty good notices. So I'm looking forward to that. I have not seen the last two Cronenberg movies. He's one of my very favorite directors, so I'm garbage at liking directors. Just jeez. But Map to the Stars. Yeah. No.
Right.
I feel really bad that he doesn't direct his own screenplays anymore. It's kind of like he's kind of run out of gas on that level, so he's doing other people's stuff. Though he did make two really great movies in the last decade with Eastern Promises and History of Violence.
All right.
Anyhow, so now that I've fully derailed anyone's attention, next week we're talking about Antiviral, directed by Brandon Cronenberg, David Cronenberg's son. We put our weight properly on Gattaca, I think, and I've kind of come to turn around. I still don't like the detective stuff, but it's a fine film. It's well worth seeing. From 1997, directed by Andrew Niccol, whose next movie is going to be about a guy who pilots drones.
Oh.
I'm just looking at what it's called, but I was thinking, hey, it's called Good.
If you isolate all my soundtracks, I think I sound like George Takei. I'm like, oh my, oh.
It's also going to star Ethan Hawke.
Oh dear.
The name is Good Kill, but there's kind of a fly in the ice cube, a turd in the punch bowl. It's also got frickin' January Jones, who is just awful.
Oh no. Oh, you just lost me.
Yeah. Betty Draper. Well, if she's naked, that might help. Please naked.
Nah.
Whatever. All right. Well.
Okay. Yeah, but that's it for us. I think.
Watch Antiviral, and you'll know what we're talking about next week.
And watch Gattaca if you haven't watched it yet.
Yeah. Did we go an hour? Almost. Damn it. Bad snobs.
54 minutes. That I blame me and my digressions.
Yeah.
That's
all right.
okay. Next week.
Right, people. We'll see you next week, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Oh, well,
and we're out.
And we're out.
We're still live, dude. Turn this off.
Yeah, I gotta turn this off.
Yeah, quit watching!
Stop broadcast there.
He doesn't